What?
Seeing Beyond, Living Transformed is a spiritual crossing of the threshold to the world of being a truly expanded human being. Join mediums Cheryl and Kelley for conversations about discovering deep spirituality, developing your intuitive and empathic skills, and personal mediumship. Each episode will focus on tips, tools, and techniques to help you understand and expand your own inner gifts of life journey. Now, your host of Seeing Beyond, Living Transformed, Kelley and Cheryl.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Seeing Beyond Living Transformed. We're so happy you're here with us today. And we have a wonderful show for you today. It's called Raising the Consciousness of the World with our special guest, Laura Eisenhower. Before I introduce Laura, I want to say hi to my colleague. Hi, Kelley. How are you today?
Well, I'm good minus this.
Is
Little
that
injury.
new, Kelley?
Yeah, I fell last night. I'm a little clumsy with my knee surgery, so I had a little fall in the parking lot last night, but I'm good.
Good, good. Well, I'm glad you're able to make it today, Kelley. I really am.
I wouldn't miss it.
And we're sending you all of our love. And okay, well, let's get the show underway. We have been waiting to have this opportunity to have Laura Eisenhower on our program. If I could just share a little bit about Laura, I'll read a little bit about her and ask her to tell us more because she has lots and lots of information to talk about. So we know that you're going to enjoy the show today. It's a special, special show. Laura Eisenhower is a global alchemist. She's a researcher and a medical intuitive astrologist. She's the great granddaughter of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Laura integrates knowledge of health, exopolitics, alchemy, metaphysics, and galactic history. We met Laura at an expo, and Kelley has seen her since at the other expos Kelley's been a part of. But Laura, we're so happy to have you on the program today and find out all that you're doing. We so appreciate you being here.
Yes,
it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We love it. And, just to get underway, I read that word exopolitics. Can you kind of break it down for us and just maybe share with us a little bit about what you do and, what is exopolitics also? Yeah.
It's just a much larger picture than the political world that we're seeing on the world stage. Secret space programs, for one thing, and just aspects of our galactic history that help us to understand what's really going on in this world. So exopolitics is, to me, the exploration of the greater sort of politics that's going on in the multiverse, and how that impacts us, because there are negative alien agendas, and there's talks about first contact or meeting our galactic family in these very, very powerful, significant times that we're in. People talk about disclosure and just the revealing of the fact that we're not alone and that there have been extraterrestrial influences in our world. So I integrate that into understanding that we hold those genetics, though. I mean, in our DNA. And if we have scrambled DNA, if we have junk DNA, what does that really hold? And what I've come to discover is that it holds higher harmonic universes that really connect us with these off-planet entities. But if we're not conscious of that, and if we're not upgrading or doing the inner work and really understanding just what we're here for, spiritual and soul development, and remembering who we are, breaking through the amnesia, the social engineering, the mind control, the ancestral patterns, and all these different things that come from some of these kind of agendas that play our emotions and try and control our minds. If we don't dig deep to deprogram and heal from all that, then we could be very manipulated by these off-planet and entities and the ones that exist in are here and in underground bases, right? So
Right.
the exploration of all of this is to connect all these dots and to just open up the dialogue to really understand the things that you're just not going to learn in school, and it's not the kind of stuff that you're just going to run into every day. So I'm just going down the rabbit holes and meeting all sorts of interesting people, and so when I go to events, especially being on these panels and just we all have a divine purpose and mission, and we're here to create this greater conversation so that we can rebuild the true template, the 12-strand DNA and beyond, and how that connects with the planetary grid network and these advanced civilizations that we lost in cataclysms. And like, why is humanity just digressing in this way when we have so much more in us than we can imagine? So let's wake that up and be sovereign. That's what I'm all about. Yeah.
And I love that. And I love all of that, you know, and it's kind of something that it's like, it's still not like something that's accepted in society. They're calling it, you know, things like, oh, they're conspiracy theorists, or they're this, or they're that, right? But honestly, how dumb would we be to believe that we're the only ones here? Like, how dumb is that? Like, obviously there's aliens. Obviously they've been around. There's like history going back so far showing, you know, documentation that there's been alien people coming to visit us and to teach us, right? And so I just love that. And I know one thing I read about you that fascinates me, because I can relate to this in some ways, is that you've really felt like I don't know if you call it channeled or connected with your great-grandfather. I read somewhere, because I also feel like I did that with my great-grandmother, and she's one of my main guides and has shown me and told me a lot of things. You know, she's not an Eisenhower, right? She was never anybody, but she was an amazing person, I believe, in her time and ahead of her time. And some of the stuff that I got from her, even as a small child, was pretty profound, you know, in life. Right. And I love that you were able to do that at such a young age as well. Because I think I read somewhere you started channeling or feeling connected to him at a very early age. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And what I love about Eisenhower and the Eisenhower family is they aren't in that hierarchical mentality. So there are so many extraordinary advanced souls and leaders and influential people that don't need to be in the position of president or any of that. I think this is what the awakening is all about. And moving into this new paradigm is that government structure really doesn't work. And I love that he called it out, because he was in it and he felt it, and he knew he didn't really have any power. He was kind of like a mascot. There were things operating behind the scenes, shadow government. There were top secret information that he didn't have access to, and a lot of false narratives being steered that place the blame on him so that they can operate behind the scenes and, you know, put the blame on somebody like him. And then we see the 3-letter organizations grooming future presidents after Kennedy assassination, how everything changed after the Second World War when it comes to what our government is all about. So I was tuning into that really young, because it was so beyond just the political realm or Republican or Democrat, or, oh, you're in a presidential family. So, you know, I mean, how do you process that? And what are you supposed to think? So we're all free thinkers, and we all appreciate our differences, and is very different than other presidential bloodlines, but it gets a lot of attack and a lot of misunderstanding because of the way people want to rewrite history or just project or assume. But I found out so much going down these rabbit holes that I knew I was being prepared for in my feeling and connection with him as a child, that I would be able to uncover things that he wasn't able to, and shed light and truth in this disclosure time where false narratives are trying to say something happened that actually didn't. So it's been a journey.
They're constantly trying to rewrite history. I mean, they're constantly trying to do that in our school systems and everything. And I'm not I'm not any kind of or anywhere near a conspiracy theorist, but I do know that like public school has failed my kids, and my last child never went to public school, never had a formal education, you know, and he's probably the smartest and the brightest kid in the group and has a mind of his own, you know what I mean? And so I just think like really there needs to be a change. We're having a system like breakdown in our society, not just like the US, but like the world. And you look at it and things that are happening all around, there's so many things that are happening that it's just kind of like, where are we going? What's gonna happen with all of this? And I think you wrote an article, Cheryl. What was that article you found that we were reading about how to prepare yourself for?
Yeah, I was knowing that you were coming on our show. I've been watching your Instagram. I've been watching your interviews. I've just been doing as much information as I can about you. I know, just to share with everybody, Laura's website is cosmicgaia.org. But really, Laura, you gave a recent talk at the expo, and that was what I was sharing with Kelley. Can you tell us what the recent talk was about? Because it's really, just from what I gathered, it's about helping people decide for themselves and kind of taking back our power as individuals, and knowing that we're not the only people, we're not the only living beings out there. There are other beings out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always what I bring to the conversation or to my lectures. And what you were just saying really touched upon something huge that I bring up. So this identity crisis that humanity is going through is an incredibly important initiation. All the planetary alignments are really supporting our growth, our development, our awakening. And this has always been a prophesized window period, around 2012. And because it was known that this particular window period would be such an opportunity for people to awaken, the inverted matrix, dark agendas, and negative alien agenda, and the infiltration, and where that all infested itself into the planetary grid network and into all the power structures of our world, have wanted to take humans down a completely different trajectory than the one that is really in our divine blueprint to begin to reveal and remember. But it is also a catalyzing force. We have to almost see what we're not in order to remember who we are. Yes. And so this identity crisis, these plutonic cycles, are really helping a person to go into that dark night of the soul as like this major test of, okay, what are you going to do? You're going to keep giving your power away. You're going to keep being dependent on a system that really doesn't serve you. Are you going to keep buying into the facades, the psyops, and all the social engineering because it placates your sense of insecurity about what to do in the face of fear of death, fear of illness, fear of just anything apocalyptic? I mean, so if we're not going through the initiation at a more organic level where, it's a part of switching on what's been dormant and awakening to our true divine blueprint, being willing to deprogram, look at our ancestral patterns, look at the societal programs, and look at how our self-worth has been defined by something outside of us that we need to rediscover within ourselves, in connection with our soul and our true calling that we need to align with and be present with, and make it a way of life instead of, just feeling it there and having this greater longing and then accepting a diagnosis like depression or anxiety when really it's like your soul's screaming out because it knows that it's here to do so much more. And the way it's leveraged these initiations into, oh, that's a disorder. Oh, that's a problem. Oh, what? Your kids can't
ADHD, ADD, give them medication.
All the illnesses, everything. Yeah. They've really mastered this major disempowerment. So now that it's
intelligent children that question, right?
Yeah. And now it's all coming to a head. So people are making decisions. And if they're not into the awakening, into the real dark night of the soul and the greater process, it is a very dangerous trajectory to be going down right now. But there's all sorts of helpers. There's all sorts of beings like yourselves and myself and many others that are here on this planet for this reason, to assist them and to bring in just this level of remembrance and work things like sound healing and ways to change the frequency and de-weaponize the weapons, because spirit holds dominion over all of this. We are the higher technology than this dark weaponry. If we can get our minds back, if we can stay soul-centered, there's nothing that they really have on us. As long as we are linked into it, though, and we're allowing it to siphon and harvest our energies and infect our minds and control our minds and infect our creativity, that we're enablers, yeah, we're going to be looping in that game. The minute we snap out of it, I feel that there's nothing we can't alchemize, transmute, transform, or cure, or overcome. And that is the magnificence of who we are and what we're here to remember.
I love
and that's
that.
what I like to present, and everything about my path and what I've learned that really just makes that clear to the best way I possibly can, so that people walk away just feeling reassured and empowered. And yeah.
I love that you say that, because I'll be honest with you, like, I've always had these memories of past lives and being in the spirit world. And when I finally started to really embrace like who I was and accept this, right? And it was mainly for my youngest child. I did this trans mediumship class for a week in Seattle, never done trans mediumship, dropped into an immediate trance, and I was literally transported to being with what I call light beings, which was an alien ship, right? And I felt at home. And I was like the deepest trance I've ever gone in. And they just kept saying and showing me all these things that I had learned over all these lives. And they just kept saying, remember, we know what you know. And don't ever forget. Don't ever forget. Remember everything. That's what you came here for. And you're here to help. And I just remember that. And so when I heard you talk the first time, you said something about remembering and all this, like, I don't know, it just sort of touched that for me. And I loved it, because that was like the message I got. And that was about 10 years ago when I first started really embracing like who I was, accepting it and being me, right? And not pretending like I was somebody else or trying to fit in anymore. I just kind of was like, this is who I am. My husband loves it. He's like, because he's different, right? We're different. And we don't fit in, and we do whatever we're going to do because we have our own beliefs. And I just think like it was the first time I ever became happy. And it was the first time that I feel like I wish I had embraced it sooner, because I have 3 children, but really the youngest child probably got the most of it, where the other 2 are more stuck on society and schools and what schools taught them, and stuck in those little boxes. And the oldest one, he was a little bit open to it, but he passed away. But my daughter's stuck in it, and I feel like someday she's going to come out of it, because she's super gifted as herself, But my younger son, I love that he thinks for himself. He's his own person. He's different, and he believes what he believes, and nobody's going to tell him what to believe. He learns on his own. And I think that that's what we need to start doing, is getting back to questioning things, asking these questions. Because what they do now is when you have kids that question or ask the teachers why, that doesn't make sense. Or, they're calling them, oh, they've got ADHD. They can't sit still. They're not conforming. Right. And they're labeling them as, they're not fitting in with the norms of society because they're less than 1% of the society. Those kids, get rid of them. Right.
Yeah. And it's getting more extreme than when we were in school. And
right. And more kids are being born open now. And more parents are asking questions. I feel like, I get so many emails every week from parents like, what do I do? My kid says this, my kid says that. Embrace it. Let them talk about it, right? Because they're here for a reason. They're the change makers, and we have to teach them to be those change makers, not teach them to fit in.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening, Society wants to put them in this little box, put them in regular school and brainwash them into this fake history. And that's a fact that, everybody knows that the history books are lies now. They're trying to take things out of history. They're trying to take books away that are educating our kids. It's like they're getting fearful because we're becoming more awake. We're becoming more, knowledgeable. We're asking questions now, our society. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Well, they're amping it up because the power of awakening and the truth is just here right under our noses. They're trying to censor it. And what games and tactics that they're using to justify it so that people aren't outraged and seeing the hypocrisy and the ridiculousness of it. It comes through the fake news of, oh yeah, let's just call them conspiracy theorists or white supremacists if they even acknowledge like the T-man, running for office, because it might just be a better thing than what we're dealing with. Right. The way that they are able to really infect the minds of individuals to create this incredible divide and conquer is next level. So, and that is because the awakening and just all of this is next level. All the planetary alignments support this. So them understanding what's going on as far as the planetary alignments, all they can really do is create the psyops and the social engineering programs to instill in our school systems and every power structure, all the influencers and the Hollywood industry, and just how the leaders of our world are all a part of that, and how that steps down into the institutions of our medical industry and educational systems, all of it. It's like this complete and total hijack that is to such an extreme that there's going to be a breaking point. Like the ridiculousness factor is getting to such an extreme that, like, if that's not enough for you to see how crazy this is, it's not about politics. It's not about anything like that. Do you get it now? Right. And the lack of ability for people to really sit down and get to know someone is what baffles me. It's like, because doctors are getting censored. I mean, people that have gone through this, that are, you know, incredible. Like you're not curious. Like, isn't that crazy that person is not allowed to speak? And this person has a PhD. They've got nothing but incredible testimonials. They're very well educated. They went through the system and they're seeing an anomaly. They're seeing something wrong and they're being censored and shut down. Why isn't that raising the alarm? But Black Lives Matter raised the alarm. LGBTQ issues raises the alarm. They're all running in the streets and protesting and standing up for all this. How are you not outraged about child trafficking, pedophilia, and all these other things that are being called out, and all the other things I just mentioned? It's like, it's unbelievable how infected people are. It's like we're in the worst B-rate horror flick, but we're also like the greatest victory, you know, because we win the war on consciousness within ourselves, right? And we only have ourselves, and then that influences others. So we can only hope on that one-on-one connection. You know, the willingness to hold love in the face of these differences and not let the divide and conquer get the best of you. You know, and if you don't have friends and family members that are willing to hold love despite your differences, then it's okay to let them go for now. It doesn't mean you're abandoning them, but it's not worth your while to be drained and hurt by it. I mean, it's like we got this whole other path to embrace and enjoy. If you want to go down that one, fine. You know, there's only so much rope and lifeboats we can throw at you. And, you know, you're throwing it back like we're crazy. It's like,
no,
they don't see the bigger picture.
Right. I watched your documentary and I can't remember the name of it.
Painful to wake up. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay. I watched your documentary recently and I forget the name of it now, but it was amazing. And it was about, you had people on there. I'm drawing a blank here. I've been at the ER all day, so sorry. But it was about, like, this one guy was talking about he grew up in LA and how he was identified as gifted and taken out of class to go to these special places in LA.
Tony Rodriguez.
Thank you. So here's the funny thing. I watched that and I'm like, holy crap. I was in a special program in LA in the 70s and identified as gifted and got to get out of school all the time to go to these special programs. And they had me do my math at an off-site location, and the computer was the whole wall. It was a mainframe, and they had me doing math and all these test quizzes on a computer. So I was learning programming at age 6, and a lot of my friends were, and most of us became like IT people in our your 20s, you know. And anyways, I just was listening to him, going, I did all those things too. I was in those programs. I mean, I was kind of tripping out. I mean, I don't know. It kind of like woke me up a little bit, going like, what is going on here? Like, I was in those programs too. We were all identified as gifted, my brothers and I, and we were always taken out of school to go on these special trips that nobody else was. You know, and I was, you know, by 3rd, 4th grade, I was kind of like a lazy, gifted kid, and I was like, oh, I don't understand anything, so I could get out of them. I just wanted to be in regular school.
Right? Oh my gosh.
I just wanted to hang out, right? But I do remember doing all of that, and it was interesting. And I've always gotten math downloads from what I call the universe, or got my spirit guides and angels, because they ran out of math classes for me in 7th grade. I was doing trigonometry and calculus, and they don't have those classes in middle school. And and they had gotten rid of all the programs in the 80s. And so it was just interesting. I don't know. I was watching that documentary, kind of tripping out, going, "Oh my gosh, what is going on here?" Like, I feel like I'm being like, I don't know, things are touching on me a little bit. It was tripping me out. I like freaked out about that a little bit. My husband and I were laughing. He's like, "Okay, Kelley, calm down."
If if
Oh.
programs can help you ask or stimulate more questions, that's a good thing, right? Make you ask more questions. That's a good thing. Like Laura says, we need a dialogue. We need to open that conversation up. And for everyone listening, I want to share with you, Laura Eisenhower is with us today. Her website is cosmicgaia.org. Please check her out. She's on social media. She has trying to get the word out there about raising our consciousness, really empowering each individual and showing us that we have that soul, that spirit within us that knows, like we have that higher knowing, right? It's just about tapping into that or listening to that. And Laura, specifically, I want to ask you how you help people do that, because I know you do soul-centered intuitive astrology readings, you do medical intuitive readings, you help clear negative patterns. But really, I mean, how does that work, like with astrology? Like you also study astrocartography, which helps people, find out can you tell us about astrocartography? I guess I should ask you that. Yeah. Tell us how.
Well, to answer your first question and then into that, understanding ourselves is everything. Self-discovery, self-knowledge is everything. If we even look at tree of life and tree of knowledge, what is the tree of knowledge? The duality of good and evil, really living at a much lower level in this kind of duality, because we're not integrated. We're not integrating polarity anymore. So there is opposition. There is a battle going on, and that battle actually exists within ourselves. And if we don't rediscover ourselves, we're going to constantly be looping in this duality game that is very vulnerable to predatory energies that like to feed on it, like to attach itself to it. And then we have the deep state cabal energies that are hoping to keep people tied into it, so that knowledge is replaced with, here's what you need to learn, and this is what you need to regurgitate. Or just, here's what's coming through the news, and this is what you should believe. Here's just where you were raised and going to church. It's like, even if these different systems aren't in agreement to each other, as long as we're not self-aware, that's the whole goal. So in developing knowledge, to have it become self-knowledge is to begin to rebuild our true template, our 12-strand DNA template, which is the tree of life. Now, the planetary grid networks have been messed with, so it makes it very, very difficult. So there are a lot of grid workers on this planet right now, but in rebuilding all of that and moving out of duality and integrating polarity, we switch on all these abilities that many people already feel into when they're a child, or they just have those moments like you were talking about. And where is that being supported and encouraged? Where is it being projected upon and giving a person like stigmas or insecurities, or, okay, I got to hide my light, or that doesn't make sense to anybody. Everybody thinks I'm crazy, or your parents want to medicate you, or this kind of thing. It's like, we have to listen to all this. So when we look at astrology, there's nothing that you can't like face. Whatever's been unconscious, wherever you're in autopilot, is no longer there anymore. You can begin to see where the patternings are, where the challenging aspects are. What are you looping in? What is keeping you stuck? Where is the abundance? Where is the just greater initiations to help you to be all that you came here to be? And so every chart is so fascinating, because every chart I see is just, you see this incredible potential. And then you see these aspects that is just, what a person has believed about themselves, that it's like, whoa, that one belief or that one thought about yourself is actually keeping you from this whole other world that, you could be stepping into, that could change everything. So it just kind of unlocks things. It brings more mindfulness and awareness to all that we are. Because you think about the 12 houses, 12 strands of DNA, 12 houses, and then we got the 13th sign as of 2010, which is connected to the element ether. And in understanding that we're elemental beings, and that the nucleic acids of our DNA are elemental, and we want to heal genetic damage, we want to heal our elementals, because they've been contaminated just like the earth elementals have been. You know, what do we need to focus on to do the greater work? And it really can help guide us in a world of distraction and things that are interfering and trying to get our attention and make it very, very difficult to really tune in. So it just sort of helps to ignite the intuition, a sense of greater knowing about who you are. And that's why it's been kind of demonized or sort of like, oh, new agey. No, this is ancient. Like, you know, astrology, medical astrology, understanding how the planets are connected to our organs, our endocrine system, our just our blood, our brain, everything, our energy bodies, the multi levels of all that we are. You know, the more we're aware of it, I mean, you go to a doctor to get a blood test to see where you're excess or deficient in certain things, certain minerals or vitamins, and what conditions you might have. Well, wouldn't it be great if they also looked at your astro chart and like understood that?
Yes.
Because we can actually see the energy patterning behind the affliction or illness of why there's these imbalances in the system. Without understanding the root of it, you can't really heal it. You can only just maybe give a prescription, you know, take the supplement, but you're going to be tied to that supplement or prescription if you're not doing the inner work and really understanding the root of it. Don't we want to heal and be free of all that? Yes. So to me, astrology is a tool to help us be more aware of where these patternings can get in the way of us thriving and being healthy, and seeing that these challenges are blessings because they're here to wake us up. But if we give our power away, they take advantage of these challenges when they're really a gift for us to awaken, then we're further getting enmeshed and assimilated into an inverted system that, you know, wants us to distract away from this level of self-knowledge that can begin to repair us and coming together and healing. You know, 7 root races, 5 cloister races, that's 12-strand DNA. We're here to share and activate each other. Our differences are a blessing, and they have really done a great job at making it a problem. And it's really not something that we're born with. It's something that we were taught. So rejecting all that. And I love what you were saying about your son and just being your own person, questioning everything. And if you don't like it, then you know what? I had the worst attendance in my school. I never went to school. I was like, it was a joke.
I hated school. I know. I never learned anything there, I feel like.
Yeah. You know, this, you know, it's just as far as the astrology goes. I mean, I've never heard it put the way you're saying it.
I love it.
Astrology for medical health, or
it's,
you know, this is really a very a unique focus on astrology. I guess her camera went out there.
Yeah, we lost you, Laura.
Get her back in a second. There she is.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, and it really can dig deep, right? If you look at just some astrologers, they might just be more predictive. Okay, let's talk about career, relationships, this and that. But when you take it to like a deeper level, also understanding the galactic history, knowing things like the Saturn moon matrix and these dark technologies, when you see these patternings and you understand how some of the planetary energies, like most of them, and this earth have been compromised by certain things, you know, it's like, that's why I say intuitive kind of medical astrology, because I'm not just looking at these things, okay, you know, relationships or careers. Like, what about greater soul mission? So the North and South node are a really important factor. Now, some gravitate more towards the Vedic. I have an awareness of it, but when I did my Vedic chart, it didn't resonate as much as my natal chart with the Western, which is Libra. I'm like Libra through and through, definitely. And I appreciate that both are legitimate. So the Virgo that the Vedic says I am, yeah, I can see, because I've always been on a healing path and I've been all about nutrition and wellness and this and that. But I think if we can utilize both systems, they have really important information to share. But yeah, so understanding it and the nodes. The South node is all about what we came in with. What are the themes that we brought in with from past lives, like the energy signature that is most familiar to us. The North node is what we're here to integrate and step into. So that's a really important piece in the chart, because on a soul level, we know that we're here to integrate polarity. If we're here coming in with the South Node and we're here to integrate the North Node, which is the opposite, to complete the cycle and to find wholeness, then everything about the chart is about integration of polarity. So the Aries Libra polarity, right? And we're about to move into the North Node being Aries and the South Node Libra in a couple months. The Aries energy that is all about self and willpower and Mars energy, just me, is needing to integrate. What about relationship? What about showing up as you in partnership instead of codependency, instead of an imbalanced relationship? Right. Where can you integrate the Aries into the Libra? So when we look at how to integrate polarity and really work with the North and South Node and understand the power of eclipses and how that's a huge kind of breaking open for that greater awareness of soul development for humanity and ourselves, we can begin to navigate this more and break down those patternings and get into the 0 point unified field, which to me is the center of the wheel. It's like, this is like a map, like a treasure map, right? And understanding the patterns and understanding the things that can set you free of those patternings, you can get back to the zero, the fool card, right? Where you're back in the now and you're not carrying all these patterns and all the things from the past and all these fears about the future. But we're here to navigate it, to work it out so that we can get to that place and that find that neutrality. But we're here to do a lot of healing work. So it's nice to know, like, you know, what we're doing. Now, a lot of people don't need it because they just intuit it and they know it and they're in touch with those cycles and they're connected with their intuition and nature. But it's helpful when you feel lost or you're not well or you don't know your direction. So astrocartography kind of helps with why you're drawn to a location. Why are you living there? It's fascinating because I started to learn it a couple of years ago and I looked up the places that I've lived in my life and it made so much sense. And then a lot of places I lived that I didn't have a line of energy, that were more transitional places. I was just there for a temporary amount of time. I was surprised that some locations had a lot more, like, seemed to be a good thing than maybe it's just, it would have been good if there wasn't inversions and weirdness in that particular spot. But, you know, working planetary grid energy, it's helpful to know, you know, what you're called to a certain place for. You know, is that your Pluto line connected to your descendant? Are you doing deep, deep soul work, attracting maybe somebody who is soul family or soulmate in this particular location? And it's not like you have to go there. It's like, I don't ever want people to be like, oh, I need to move there to meet my true love, so I better move to Kentucky because my love line goes through Kentucky. It's like, I would never say that to anyone, right? Because you might meet somebody from Kentucky in Texas and because that line of energy is there, it's like you still have that energy, but you're in a different place, right? But it's helpful for when people are making a move and they're pretty certain about that move, you know, like what it might reveal, or people that are already in a location, like what you can share. I'm very careful about what I share because we're very creative and I don't want to just do prediction unless somebody's asking me a question and advice. I more want to point out the patternings and then the potential. You know, what are the negative patternings and what is the potential? And what are you going to decide? What do you want? And how can I empower you to go for it? Instead of being like, oh, this is going to happen if you go here and then, because then that's going to mess with their head. And they won't maybe know what to do. But at the same time, if they're asking for that, then they might feel it out and realize, oh, okay, well, that didn't come true or that wasn't right. Because you know what? You're more powerful than anybody can predict for you. So I kind of like work with where the person's at. And and
they're ready when they ask those questions. Maybe that's letting you know maybe they're ready to hear the answer, even though they may have heard it before somewhere else. I want to tell you that what I picked up so far from this program is, oh my gosh, there's so much information, Laura. You have such a wealth of information, and everyone listening, just know how lucky it is to learn about Laura Eisenhower if you're meeting her for the first time. And really do check out her website, cosmicgaia.org. Check her out on social. You're doing as much as you can, Laura. It feels to me like you're getting out to expos and conferences and you're doing interviews to try to help other people. Really, that's your goal, is to that self-empowerment. And got from your talk so far is, I think sometimes people, like you said, they're afraid. There's fear about being as powerful as they are, right? Sometimes we're afraid of our own power. But your astrology readings or finding out about what's mapped out in the stars kind of gives you knowledge and power, right? About your strengths. It gives you knowledge and power about, hey, maybe you might be feeling stuck in this place. So having that knowledge of getting an astrology reading with you, or finding out about, where we are in the stars, or our zodiac, the horoscope, so to speak, I think it helps kind of equip people. That's what I'm hearing, is it gives people a spiritual tools to maybe help them further them on their spiritual path, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. It's just being mindful and aware and understanding, because when Uranus strikes, right? Uranus is the three outer planets are the initiatory planets. Like Pluto is all about the death cycles, death, rebirth, alchemy, and transformation. If there's a squared aspect with Pluto and you're in a Plutonic cycle and you're stuck in a sense in like the birth canal or in the cocoon, you can't get out and you just want to die, or just you're like hanging on to something that you need to let go of, but you don't really understand it. It's helpful to know, oh, there's a Saturn square to your Pluto, or this is going on. And it's like, oh, okay, it can just like accelerate things a little bit more, because, when we're in it and you just feel all alone in it, it can just become so heavy and difficult. And sometimes people make choices that aren't really beneficial to their health and wellness in these states of panic. They give their power away, like, oh, no, it's initiation. No, that's Uranus. That's actually like, waking you up. So, and then sometimes events happen, in order to do that. But you know what I'm saying? It's like these initiatory planets, particularly, I love to look at, because if you're not in resonance with Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, then you're more likely in these times of psyops, false flags, and pandemic kind of stuff to panic and give your power away, when the astrology around that time was all about transformation and letting go of the old paradigm and beginning to reawaken and do that deeper soul, journey. But that also activated it for a lot of people. They began to find themselves like, oh, actually I found a blessing in this quarantine, or I found myself. And so everybody's navigating this differently. Everybody's at the different stages of where they're at. But, what's really here for us to explore is how these things that sometimes feel out of our control are a part of our higher awareness and the greater intelligence of creation to bring us back to like the truth of all that we are. So the more we can understand it and work with it, the better off we are.
I agree. Amen.
I do too. Yeah.
I do have a question for you, and Laura, and then Kelley, I'll pass it over to you. But Laura, I mean, we tell people there's a spiritual awakening happening, like that people are awakening. And sometimes it's rough and sometimes it's smooth, sometimes there's light and sometimes, there's challenges. Can you kind of tell us where we are, like right now, like, and what we can do to help ourselves if we're feeling stuck? Or, kind of just help people. What do we do if we're stuck? I know sometimes I get that question. And I'd love to get your take on it, and where we are maybe as a collective.
Yeah, like
if you're stuck, yes, great question. Are you willing to take risks if you're stuck? What is like an inspiration or something that you're wanting to do? What's getting in the way of it? That's why you're stuck, because you think that there's something getting in the way of it. So begin to have a conversation with it and ask yourself, what is that? Who is that? Where did that come from? And what fear in you is coming to the surface when you look at that? And when you can, see it for what it is, and realize that if you overcome it, you're actually blessing yourself and that energy for taking that step to move forward out of that stuckness. You've just achieved like the next level of what these obstacles are presented to us to, the higher octave of Saturn is about self-mastery and being a teacher. The lower energies of Saturn are authority, tyranny, and control, and limitation, and blocks, and responsibility, feeling stuck, having to deal with reality. So these are all the obstacles, right? But we're spiritual athletes. So we're handed these obstacles, and we're here to like go to the gym and like train and just be like, okay, I'm stuck. It's like, okay, I can't lift this. Okay, all right, this is big, too big of a wall to climb, but it's like we're gaining strength. We're gaining strength, and but we have the creative imagination and intention and the ability to utilize that, so that it's not all going to be just like the hard work of it all. Like, oh, I got to like just battle it or like overcome it or this and that. We also have like so much more to manifest miracles and make it a lot easier, so we can fly over the obstacles instead of, we're going to do both. We can build strength, but we can also fly, and we can also just like work our way around just all these different things, because we're living in a different frequency than what it's like. So being stuck is the life you're living versus what you feel in your soul you're here to do. And you might feel stuck in thinking that if you were to move in that direction, you're not going to have abundance, or what are people going to think? You're going to lose family or friends. How are you going to be provided for? Do you really believe in yourself? And how is money and connected to soul versus I need to continue to be in this matrix thing and do this kind of thing. And I feel stuck because I don't want to be doing this anymore. And I feel hurt by it because I know that something's really, really, really wrong. What do I do now? Right. So where these greater conversations come in, because, the breaking point of nothingness, which I've gone through, raising kids and not having, even though people think, oh, your eyes are, you must have like a trust fund. No, it's not a family of wealth at all. It's not your typical presidential family, right? So, I mean, I've lived a really hard life, went on camps for most of my adult years and lived out of vehicles with my children. I mean, it was not, so perspective in the moment, you can change your frequency and energy of the way that you perceive your reality. And claim your abundance and claim your connection with everything around you, and not buy into like what other people think. Right. So it's more the projections of, oh, well, that's unsuccessful. That's a failure. That's like, what are you doing? It's like, get all that noise out of your system and just be with yourself and realize like, no, you can unstick yourself, because you're probably stuck with something that isn't yours, that you think is your inner voice, but it isn't. It's just something that it's preventing you, because they're afraid and threatened by you being empowered enough to be sovereign and to move on from this insanity. And then, and then there's the love connections that you just don't want to break. But, you can telepath and be there from afar, but it's just like, be true to yourself. The universe will support you. The universe will support you. I mean, if I can do it, and I hear stories all the time, I interview people, and you guys, talking to you, when you step away from being stuck and you just say, I'm going to take a risk and I'm just going to do this because I'm passionate about it. It inspires me. I feel like this is what I'm here to do. Even if I'm not confident about it, even if I'm not the most talented at it, I'm still going to do it. Then boom, miracles, synchronicity, and divine flow, and everything falls into place.
I love that.
We underestimate the power of the universe, don't we?
We do.
Yes. This is return of the mother. The mother is holding us and loving us and nurturing us and saying, come on, I'm the shoulder to cry on. You can do this. I'm into, my arms, and like, and that false parent and false system, it's like, it's time to divorce it. It's time to break up with it. It's time to come home. It's time to come home. And it's scary because we're so used to it and been dependent on it. And it's like, okay, like the anticipation of like, the letting go, it's like letting go of a pacifier, just something that's a false sense of security, is something really going to catch me? Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I love that. I just love that. And I think people forget that like we're so powerful as humans, with just like the power of our thought and our own universe that surrounds us and guides us, right? We forget to like draw upon all of that. And I think that, I love what you said about doctors incorporating astrology, right, into like medical stuff, because I think that's really important. When my son was little, we went to a child psychologist, and the first thing she wanted to do was run his chart.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was Maureen Healy. She works with, gifted children, and she's written several books. And, and I was fascinated by that, because she was like, we still see her. He's 16 now. I mean, he's been seeing her since he was like, I think 5. And, she says, she needs to know like their whole picture, not just what I'm saying. And I love that. And she's, amazing. And I think I met another woman who talks about, sound healing and heart disease. She was talking about how there's certain sounds that they can play during a heart surgery that science has proven people are more successful with their heart surgery when they play these tones during surgery. Like, why do we not incorporate all these things, right? But they don't. They refuse. It's like there's a fear behind it, right?
I know. Yeah.
There's a fear. And why is there a fear? I mean, these things have been happening for a long time. And we're not the first society to know about it, but it's almost like forgotten stuff we've tried to like ignore and push back.
I think it's like trauma. It's like too good to be true. So that trauma response is like, no, I'm not worthy. Or no, it's too good. It's like, no. It's like there's something in the collective consciousness and within like many souls that here's something that actually will help. No, I'm just gonna go like in this more unhealthy, like no, because
let's take all these pills or something.
Yeah, and I'd rather take my power away. It's like there's this huge fear about like discovering the self and like all these amazing things.
Who we are.
And these dark agendas though, they're not a part of, some of them are, because it's multi-generational, like mind control and abuse. A lot of them are a part of this awakening, but some are just like literally not a part of it. But it's just that exploration of like potential and possibility should not be a threatening thing. And it shouldn't be something that you would want to negate. It's almost like, why would you reject something that actually, could help? And
it's proven to help.
The mind it's a form of like self neglect and lack of self-love and deep wounds connected to maybe having abusive parents, maybe past lives that connect with a family lineage of a lot of disconnect, a loss of, so much like that you're just looking to anything to just appease, this trauma and pain. Is too much to think that there's something that could actually engage in you finding it within yourself, which is the real healing, right? Everybody wants to be like drugged and numbed to deal with pain, instead of let me process this and integrate this and actually cry and actually look.
Yeah.
Because it goes so deep for so many people. The pain is so deep that it's like, I'd rather just like do the drugs and just go to the doctor and have him like sort it out, than be like, okay, I'm going to open this all up. I'm going to unpack all this and go down those underworlds and go into the deeper shadow work and then rise like the phoenix and switch all this stuff on. It's like, but it's beautiful, but it's scary for people. It's like, they're just not up for it yet, but they will be eventually, because everybody comes home to source and to the mother and father.
And all of us in this conversation today and everyone listening, I mean, we're a part of that healing, right? We're a part of that support. I mean, that ripple effect, right? Like, maybe we're all awakening by noticing the fears that we have, right? That's spiritual awakening, is to say, hey, here's this fear I've had since I was, who knows how young I was. And, maybe I'm ready to look at it now, or maybe, I'll look at some other ones and I'll get back to this later. But maybe that's the awakening, is to kind of say, hey, where, this power of love, like, what is it all about? I'm understanding I can heal from it. I'm understanding there's a power I can step into it. Teach me. I want to know more. And that's really what you're doing, Laura. I mean, I just really think that you're out there sharing with people, like there's this amazing essence about each and every one of us, so much greater than, that we're just scratching the surface still,
Yeah.
Right. I know we only have a little bit of time left, but Laura, can you just share with us some of your upcoming events or how people can reach you? And are you working on Zoom and phone, or how are you
Yeah.
seeing this? Yeah.
Yeah, most everything is on my website, cosmicgaia.org. I have a $15 a month subscription. I send out newsletters. I have Zoom meetings. I bring on sound healers and just really amazing individuals. And I do discounted sessions for people who subscribe. And if you subscribe, it really actually helps me to continue to do my work, my research, my presentations, and it's really helpful. Jump on board that. And yeah, events, let's see, I'm going to Avebury and Glastonbury, England, and England's my birthplace.
Wow.
And so that's really like huge for me. And I'm going to DC to do a planetary grid project, a planetary grid energy product, Stargate energy project happening. Yeah, all that's going to be updated on my website. So instead of like listing all the things I'm doing, check out cosmicgaia.org. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, no longer on YouTube, but I have a Rumble channel. I have a BitChute channel. So I put out really awesome interviews there.
Yes.
To check out. And I got this subscription thing. So it's all there on my website. And I'll update it. So about what's happening for this next year. And I have a book that will be out probably next year. And I'm about to finish it up. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm flying to Portland actually at the end of this month to meet with Brad Olson, who's my publisher. A lot of people know who Brad Olson is. And it'll be finally, it's been an impossible book to get out, but it's going to finally come out.
I'm sure.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, and I just want to tell everybody too, I had a wonderful reading with you with the astrology and all that with my charts, and I really feel like I got a lot of really insightful information about my relationship with my children, and I feel like it was very helpful, and I'm very encouraged by it. So thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys having me and just appreciating my work, and it means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, Laura, it's great to have you. And Kelley, do you have any events coming up that we should just quickly share with?
Yeah, I mean, I have in Sacramento, I have an in-person small group reading coming up. Brianna could post that for me. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Brianna. And that's on like the June 10th. And then I have one that's online that is on the 27th. And that's one where everybody gets a reading. It's 8 people max. In February next year, I'm taking a group to Egypt. We still have 11 or 12 spots left. We have 14 people already. So if you want to go on an amazing trip to Egypt with myself and a colleague, oh my God, Jules Davis, come check it out on my website. It's going to be the most amazing trip to Egypt ever. So if you've always wanted to go, you should come with us. I'm excited about that. I can't wait to go. We have some amazing things planned on that trip. So definitely check out my website and, see about coming. And what about you, Cheryl? I know you have a lot coming up.
Thanks, Kelley. I do have a lot coming up. Just to quickly mention, I do also have a small group reading event coming up online. It's June 23rd. Brianna, thank you for putting those links on the screen for us and sharing them with everyone. So that's June 23rd, and July 17th, I'll be with Suzanne Northrup. We're both of these events will be online. Suzanne and I are doing mediumship readings and a large event audience reading. So please buy a ticket there or join me for the small group reading happening really in just a couple of weeks, June 23rd. Guys, it's been great having you as our listeners. We can't tell you how much we appreciate having you on our show. It's seeingbeyondradio.com. We always encourage you to sign up for our mailing list. Once again, we want to thank Laura Eisenhower, and really get a chance, check her out. It's really so incredible, the information that she's sharing with us, cosmicgaia.org. Laura, just many blessings. Thank you for taking the time
so much.
For coming to see us today.
Oh, it's been wonderful to be with you guys, and I can't wait to have you on my show. And
love it.
Oh yeah, so
thank you so much. It's been a great show, very educational. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay,
you,
thank
everyone.
you.
Namaste. Have a wonderful night.
All right. Bye, everybody.
The truth is here and now on WLTKDB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.